When a fierce liberal reporter ambushes Caroline Leavitt at a heated press briefing, accusations fly and chaos erupts. But when shocking truths surface, the real battle begins. Will justice prevail? Watch till the end and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more gripping stories. Unbreakable under the spotlight. The bustling hall of the Washington, D.C. press briefing room was packed to capacity. Rows of cameras lined the back wall like soldiers on parade. Lenses trained on the podium where Caroline Leavitt stood, poised and unflinching. The atmosphere was taut, like a string pulled to its limit, ready to snap at the slightest provocation. Outside, a restless crowd gathered, chanting, discussing, and live streaming every second leading up to the briefing. Social media was ablaze with speculation, each side gearing up for the political battle they knew was about to unfold. Caroline adjusted the microphone, her presence both commanding and calm. She was no stranger to hostile crowds and loaded questions. Today, however, felt different. An intangible tension hung in the air. She took a measured breath and began, voice steady and strong. "Good afternoon. Let's get started." Hands shot up instantly, fingers wiggling in hopes of being noticed. Caroline pointed to a well-known conservative journalist from a prominent network. "Miss Levit, can you elaborate on how the new tax policy will stimulate small business growth?" Caroline nodded and delivered a concise, well-rehearsed response, outlining the administration's commitment to reducing financial burdens on local entrepreneurs. The room hummed with quiet scribbling as the answer sank in. Before she could call on the next reporter, a more familiar voice cut through the room, a sharp, unyielding tone that Caroline recognized immediately. "Miss Levitt, let's talk about the real issue here," said Lauren Brooks, a fierce liberal reporter notorious for her aggressive style and desire to push every conversation into controversy. Lauren leaned forward from her spot near the front, her piercing eyes locked on Caroline like a predator stalking prey. "Do you believe these tax policies are deliberately structured to suppress minority communities, given the latest data showing disproportionately negative impacts?" Caroline didn't miss a beat. "I've addressed this before, and I will reiterate, the administration's goal is to uplift all Americans, regardless of background. If you want specifics on how the policy benefits small businesses, I'm happy to discuss." Lauren's pen tapped rhythmically on her notepad, an almost mocking smirk curling at her lips. "You didn't actually answer the question, though," she pushed, her voice sharper now, like a knife probing for weakness. "Are you saying there's no intention to suppress marginalized communities?" Caroline clenched her jaw subtly, refusing to let irritation show. She knew Lauren well, knew her tactics. This wasn't about finding truth. It was about creating a scene. "I have answered your question," Caroline replied, voice firm but controlled. "Now I'll be moving on." The tension thickened, like hot molasses dripping through the room. A few murmurs rippled among the reporters, some intrigued by the confrontation, others visibly uncomfortable. Lauren wasn't deterred. She leaned even closer, almost daring Caroline to dismiss her again. "So that's a no comment?" Lauren shot back, her words dripping with accusation. Caroline inhaled deeply, choosing her next words carefully. "I'm not avoiding anything. I'm staying on topic. If you have a question relevant to today's agenda, I'll gladly answer it. Otherwise, I'll move on to someone who does." Lauren gave a sly, almost triumphant smile. "Sure, here's a new question. Why is this administration so terrified of transparency?" A few gasps echoed, and the atmosphere shifted palpably. Some reporters glanced at one another, while others scribbled furiously, sensing that something monumental was unfolding. Caroline felt a flicker of irritation, the tiniest twitch at the corner of her mouth, but she buried it immediately. "Transparency is exactly what this administration stands for," she replied, words slow and deliberate. "But what you're doing right now, turning this briefing into a spectacle, that's not journalism. It's theatrics." The room fell into a strained silence, and for a split second, even Lauren seemed taken aback. Then the smirk reappeared, now tinged with contempt. "So you're dismissing valid concerns as theatrics?" She fired back, louder this time, ensuring the cameras caught every word. A veteran journalist leaned back and muttered to his colleague, "This isn't journalism. This is performance art. But Lauren didn't care. She knew exactly what she was doing. The longer she pressed, the better the chance of going viral. Karoline remained resolute, staring straight ahead, but inwardly her mind was racing. She could feel the battle lines being drawn. Lauren wasn't just trying to discredit her personally, she was aiming to frame the entire administration as hostile toward the press. Suddenly, the double doors at the back of the room swung open, and a figure slipped in. John Markson, a conservative commentator known for his firebrand defense of the administration. His sudden appearance wasn't on the agenda, and the entire room seemed to pause, trying to process why he was here. He walked straight up to the podium and whispered something into Karoline's ear. Her eyes widened momentarily and she gave a single nod. He took the microphone, looking directly at Lauren. "Ma'am, I'm sure you're well aware that spinning half-truths and creating controversy out of context isn't what the American public deserves. If you'd care to review the complete set of data before making inflammatory accusations, we'd be happy to accommodate you." Lauren's face turned a shade paler, but she held her ground. "So now you're bringing in backup to silence journalists? Quite the transparency." John's lips curved into a slow smile. "No, ma'am. We're simply ensuring that the truth doesn't get buried under your drama. This briefing is for information, not sensationalism." The room erupted into a chaotic mix of applause, murmurs, and hushed debates. Lauren glared at both of them, knowing the situation was slipping out of her control. Karoline glanced at John, giving him a subtle nod of gratitude. But deep down, she knew this was just the beginning. The real storm was still gathering force outside these walls. From the corner of her eye, Karoline noticed one of her aides rushing over, phone in hand, face stricken. She knew immediately something was happening online. Whatever it wasn't good. And while Lauren looked shaken, there was a dangerous glint in her eyes that made Karoline's stomach tighten with dread. A war wasn't won in a single battle, and this war had just gotten personal. The storm breaks. As soon as the briefing ended, Karoline stepped off the podium, her heels clicking against the polished marble floor with a measured, determined pace. Her aide, Michael, rushed up to her, looking pale and breathless. He thrust his phone toward her without a word, and Karoline glanced at the screen. It was already happening. The internet had exploded. Social media platforms were flooded with snippets of the briefing, all heavily edited and clipped to make it look like Karoline had outright silenced Lauren. Hashtags like Accusations silencing, the press, Levit cracks down, and freedom under attack were trending. Lauren herself was live on a major news network, her face framed dramatically, eyes brimming with righteous fury. "I was just doing my job," she said, voice steady but pained. "I asked a legitimate question about transparency and minority suppression, and I was not just dismissed. I was publicly humiliated and threatened with removal. This is not just an attack on me, it's an attack on journalism and free speech itself." Karoline let out a slow, deliberate breath, her jaw tightening as Michael continued scrolling through reactions. Anchors were already calling her actions a dangerous precedent and an authoritarian crackdown. Even some conservative outlets were cautious, unsure how to frame the situation without looking biased. Just then, her phone buzzed violently, an incoming call from Senator Richard Hale, a key supporter of the administration. Karoline hesitated before accepting. "Karoline," he barked, voice low and fierce. "What the hell happened in there?" "It's a deliberate hit job," she replied calmly. The reporter kept pushing baseless accusations without evidence. "Well, it's blowing up. The president's furious. He's not blaming you, but this is turning into a PR nightmare. The opposition is already drafting statements condemning us for suppressing the press." Karoline knew the game. They were seizing the moment, exploiting the narrative for maximum damage. She glanced at the television in the corner, where commentators were debating whether she had intentionally shut down freedom of the press. Every clip was edited to the point of distortion, making her look like a tyrant who couldn't handle tough questions. "Do you want me to release the full footage?" Karoline asked. "We're considering it," Hale grumbled, "but it might just feed the fire. This thing's got legs. Stay put and don't talk to the media." Karoline didn't argue. She hung up and turned to Michael. "What's our base saying?" she asked. "Mixed reactions," he replied. "Some are defending you, saying Lauren was being deliberately disruptive. Others think you overreacted. Karoline knew what that meant. The truth was too murky for people to grasp. Public opinion was fracturing, and the opposition was capitalizing on it. The problem wasn't just the spin, it was the sheer speed at which the narrative was solidifying. Her phone buzzed again. A message from John Markson, the commentator who had tried to support her at the briefing. It's bad. They're planning to stage a demonstration tomorrow in front of the press building, demanding your resignation. They're calling it the Free Press Stand. Karoline cursed under her breath. The media frenzy wasn't just online anymore. It was mobilizing people into the streets. As if on cue, a loud noise erupted outside. She walked to the window and looked down. Protesters were already gathering, holding signs that read, "Freedom first and stop the censorship." Suddenly, Michael's phone chimed again, a breaking news alert. Lauren Brooks claims death threats following press briefing incident. Karoline's heart sank. This was getting completely out of control. Her name was trending alongside number Protect Lauren and number Journalism Under Attack. Are they serious? She muttered. She's playing the victim now? Michael's face was pale. They're saying your actions triggered extremists to threaten her life. They're tying it to your supposed hostility toward the press. It wasn't just a PR nightmare anymore. It was a full-blown scandal. Karoline's inbox was flooded with hate mail, her phone vibrating with calls and messages from concerned allies and political figures. That evening, as she sat alone in her office, the reality set in. This wasn't just about her career anymore. It was a symbolic battle about freedom and control. Lauren had skillfully positioned herself as the champion of free speech, and Karoline was being painted as the villain who dared to silence a courageous journalist. But then, an unexpected twist. Michael burst into her office, eyes wide with excitement. "Karoline, you need to see this." He thrust his laptop onto her desk. The screen showed a leaked audio clip, Lauren's voice clear and unmistakable, talking to her producer just before the press conference. "I'm going to push her until she snaps," Lauren whispered. "We need a headline. If she kicks me out, even better. I'll spin it as suppression and watch her career go up in flames." Karoline's jaw dropped. The clip was already spreading fast, and the backlash against Lauren had started to build. People were furious, realizing they'd been manipulated. Michael grinned, almost laughing from sheer relief. "Who leaked it?" Karoline asked, still in disbelief. "No idea," Michael replied, "but it's the break we needed. Public opinion's flipping fast." Karoline sat back, adrenaline still pumping through her veins. This war wasn't over, but at least now she had a weapon of her own. Yet even with this victory, the deeper issue remained. The public had been quick to turn against her, based on manipulated footage and crafted narratives. Would they learn from this? Or was this just another cycle, where truth didn't matter as long as the outrage felt justified? As she stared at the screen, watching people slowly realize how they'd been played, Karoline knew that the real battle wasn't just against rogue journalists. It was against the entire system that allowed truth to be a casualty in the quest for clicks and headlines. The point of no return. The leaked audio of Lauren's conniving plan had caused an instant uproar. Online, people were demanding an apology from her, questioning her credibility as a journalist. The hashtag number Lauren Lies began trending within hours, and even some liberal commentators were cautiously distancing themselves from her, claiming they were shocked and disappointed by her unethical tactics. But Karoline knew better than to celebrate too soon. She had seen this before, how outrage ebbed and flowed, constantly redirected by the next scandal. She needed to solidify her stance and make sure this moment didn't slip through her fingers. As the media firestorm brewed, Karoline called a meeting with her crisis management team and closest advisors. The room was buzzing with conversation when she walked in, but silence fell immediately. "I know everyone's feeling a bit of relief," she began, her voice steady. "But this isn't over. Lauren is too smart to just back down. She'll come back swinging, and we need to be prepared." Her chief strategist, Elliot Graves, cleared his throat. "She's already scheduled an exclusive interview with a major network," he said. "They're framing it as Lauren's side of the story. We don't know what angle she'll take, but it's safe to assume it won't be an apology." Karoline nodded, her mind racing through the possibilities. What about legal action? She asked. Already being discussed, Michael replied. But going after her could look vindictive. We might want to wait and see how the public responds to her interview. As the team continued debating, Caroline's phone buzzed with a notification. She glanced down and froze. Breaking. New evidence suggests leaked audio was doctored. Her heart skipped a beat. She clicked the link and read the headline twice to make sure she wasn't hallucinating. A prominent tech analyst had posted a video claiming the leaked audio file contained irregularities, suggesting it had been tampered with. Lauren had immediately seized on it, issuing a statement declaring that the leak was a coordinated effort by the administration to discredit her. Karoline felt the floor drop out from under her. "This can't be happening," she whispered, barely audible. Elliot's face was grim. "They're saying it's a deep fake, that someone engineered it to sound like Lauren plotting to sabotage you. She's claiming victimhood again, but this time with technological backing." Anger bubbled up inside Karoline. This was a masterstroke of manipulation. She was trapped between two horrible options: discredit Lauren and risk being accused of a smear campaign, or stay silent and let the narrative shift back in Lauren's favor. "Who leaked the audio in the first place?" Karoline demanded. "We don't know," Michael replied. "It didn't come from anyone on our team. We're still tracing the source." Karoline pinched the bridge of her nose, fighting back the frustration threatening to consume her. "If we challenge the deepfake claim and it turns out she's right, we're finished. But if we accept it without proof, we look weak and guilty." Elliot leaned forward. "What if we turn this whole situation on its head?" "What do you mean?" Karoline asked. "Invite Lauren to a public debate. Call her bluff. Frame it as a chance for her to clear her name directly. No editing, no filters. If she refuses, it makes her look like she's hiding something. If she accepts, we make sure it's under strict, transparent conditions so nothing can be manipulated." Karoline considered it. A live, unedited debate could be a game changer, if it didn't backfire. "Do it," she finally said. "Set it up. Make it impossible for her to say no." The debate of the century. The announcement that Karoline Leavitt had challenged Lauren Brooks to a live, unedited debate instantly dominated headlines. Speculation swirled about whether Lauren would accept, but she had no choice. The public pressure was overwhelming. The stage was set for the following evening in a packed studio with a live audience and real-time broadcasting across all major networks. The night of the debate, tension electrified the air. Cameras zoomed in on Lauren as she took her seat, expression fierce and confident. Karoline entered second, her poise unshaken despite the chaos swirling around her. The moderator introduced both women, emphasizing that the debate would be uncut and unedited, giving each side equal time to speak. Lauren wasted no time. "I've been attacked, humiliated, and accused of plotting a smear campaign, all because I dared to ask a legitimate question. This administration has tried to silence me, and the leaked audio was a clear attempt to destroy my credibility." Karoline didn't flinch. "No one has tried to silence you. You've had countless opportunities to speak your truth. But the problem here isn't about press freedom. It's about accountability. You manipulated that press briefing to serve your own agenda, and the public deserves to know why." Lauren scoffed. "You want to talk about manipulation? Your administration orchestrated a fake audio leak to ruin my reputation." Karoline fixed her with a piercing gaze. "The audio came from an unknown source. Neither I nor anyone on my team had any involvement. But let me ask you this. If you truly believe in transparency, why didn't you make the full context of your actions clear from the beginning? Why did you allow edited clips to spread without correcting the record?" Lauren hesitated, caught off guard by the directness of the question. "I didn't have control over how the media framed it, but you could have clarified. Instead, you let it fester because it suited your narrative." The audience murmured in agreement, and Lauren's confidence faltered. In a desperate move, she pulled out her phone and played a new clip, a supposed confession from an anonymous source claiming they had doctored the original audio under pressure from conservative operatives. But within seconds, fact-checkers began posting online that the new clip itself was a hoax released by a known conspiracy site. The moderator interrupted the debate to inform the audience of the revelation. Lauren's face turned ashen. The truth was finally catching up to her. Karoline seized the moment. "This is exactly the problem. We're drowning in misinformation and manipulation, and the American people deserve better. This isn't just about me or you, Lauren. It's about how easily lies can take root and destroy lives. We need to stand together to protect the truth, not weaponize it. The debate ended with a round of applause from the audience, something Karoline hadn't expected. Lauren, visibly shaken, was escorted off the stage by her own team. As the cameras panned out, pundits quickly declared Karoline the winner of the debate, praising her composure and determination to face the controversy head-on. But Karoline knew the battle wasn't over yet. Lauren's downfall didn't mean the end of media manipulation or public outrage. The country remained divided, and Karoline knew that no single debate could heal the damage done. Yet for that one night, truth had won a rare and fleeting victory. Victory and reflection. The morning after the debate, Karoline awoke to a flood of messages. Her phone was buzzing nonstop. Texts from allies, calls from the media, even a voicemail from the president congratulating her on her performance. News channels were unanimously declaring her the clear victor, highlighting how she had remained calm and collected while exposing Lauren's manipulations. Social media had taken a sharp turn. Hashtags like #TruthWins, #Justice for Karoline, and #Expose the Lies were trending worldwide. Memes flooded the internet, mocking Lauren's downfall and celebrating Karoline's triumph. Conservative networks were praising her resilience, while even some liberal commentators were admitting that Lauren had crossed the line. As Karoline sipped her morning coffee in the quiet of her office, she allowed herself a moment to breathe. The relentless pressure that had been squeezing her chest for days had finally begun to ease. She glanced at her laptop where headlines flashed across the screen. Karoline Levitt silences the lies in live debate. Media manipulation exposed. The truth behind the Lauren Brooks scandal. Leavitt triumphs as truth prevails. Her aides, Michael and Elliot, entered the room with cautious smiles, each holding a tablet full of data and reactions. "You did it," Michael said, voice full of pride. "We're seeing an overwhelming surge in positive sentiment," Elliot added. "Even independents are backing you, saying you showed true leadership." Karoline nodded, but her expression remained serious. "This isn't just about me," she said. "It's about how easily a lie can spiral out of control and how the truth becomes collateral damage. If we don't address that problem, this will happen again, maybe to someone else next time." Elliot hesitated before speaking. "You're right, but right now people are rallying behind you. The White House released a statement fully supporting your stance. They're calling it a victory for transparency." Karoline managed a faint smile. It was rare to get that kind of public backing in politics, especially after a crisis like this. But deep down, she knew that her ordeal had exposed a far darker issue, one that wouldn't disappear just because she had won this round. The unexpected turn. As Karoline prepared for the next press briefing, a victory lap of sorts, Michael approached with a troubled expression. "You're not going to like this," he said, handing her his tablet. A new article was making waves, published by an underground investigative journalist who claimed to have inside information from one of Lauren's former producers. The story alleged that Lauren hadn't acted alone, that she was part of a coordinated effort by a political faction aiming to discredit Karoline and the administration. "You think it's true?" Karoline asked, her gut tightening. "It could be," Michael replied cautiously. "If it is, this is bigger than just Lauren." Karoline knew what had to be done. "Find out everything," she ordered. "I want the truth, no matter how deep it goes." As her team scattered to investigate, Karoline glanced back at the television. Reporters were still dissecting the debate, and networks were booking political analysts to discuss what this victory meant for her career. But Karoline wasn't interested in gloating. Her instincts told her that this wasn't over. If there was a coordinated smear campaign against her, it meant the stakes were higher than she'd imagined. That evening, a surprising phone call came through from an unexpected source. John Markson, the conservative commentator who had defended her at the original press conference. "Karoline," he said, his voice more serious than usual, "you need to watch your back. I've heard whispers that this wasn't just about you. It was about destabilizing the entire administration. Lauren was just a pawn." Her mind raced. "Do you have proof?" "Not yet," John replied, "but I'm digging. Be careful. This could go much deeper than a press conference stunt. As she hung up, Karoline sat back in her chair, tension creeping back into her shoulders. The victory had been a hard-fought one, but now it felt like just the beginning of something far more insidious. Facing the new reality. The next morning, Karoline decided to address the public once again. She held a press conference, not just to clear her name, but to speak openly about the state of truth and media integrity in America. What we just witnessed was not just a fight between a reporter and a spokesperson. It was a war on truth itself, she began, looking directly into the camera. In an era where misinformation can spread faster than reality, we all need to be vigilant. Leaders, journalists, and citizens alike. It's time we demand more than just sensationalism. We need honesty and accountability from everyone, no matter the political affiliation. The response was overwhelmingly positive. People admired her for speaking out, for confronting not just the scandal, but the deeper, more uncomfortable reality of modern media manipulation. Later that day, as Karoline reviewed the data from the latest investigations, Michael approached her once more. "We found something," he said gravely. "There's a trail leading back to a political action committee, one that's funded by a group of powerful donors who have been working to destabilize conservative voices." Karoline's face hardened. "Then we expose it," she said resolutely, "no matter who's behind it." Final thoughts. A new battle begins. That night, Karoline stood on the balcony of her office, looking out over the city lights. She knew she had just fought one battle, but the war was far from over. The forces she was up against were bigger than Lauren Brooks. They were systematic, calculating, and relentless. For a fleeting moment, Karoline considered walking away from politics altogether. But then she remembered the faces of the supporters who had rallied behind her, the countless messages from ordinary Americans thanking her for standing strong. No, she couldn't just back down now. The truth mattered too much. As she looked up at the stars glittering against the vast, dark sky, she made a silent vow. No matter how daunting the fight, she would continue to stand for what was right. Because in the end, it wasn't just her reputation at stake. It was the integrity of the truth itself. A lesson for the times. The nation remained divided, but Karoline's victory in the debate marked a turning point in public awareness. More citizens began questioning media narratives, demanding transparency and fairness from both journalists and politicians alike. Though the journey was far from over, one truth had become clear. In an age dominated by clicks and chaos, it was vital to fight not just for power, but for the truth itself. Only by confronting falsehoods and holding manipulators accountable could the people reclaim their right to honest reporting and responsible leadership.